1 minute.
Any early stars and goals? Yeah.
Okay, we're ready. Everybody ready? Hey, the clock says 5:30, so welcome to this meeting. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, item 1.3 is approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye and the agenda is approved. Item 1.4 is input from the public. This is a period devoted to comments by the general public, if any, and discussion of those comments. In the interest of privacy and due process, the public is requested to not raise personnel issues except in a legally noticed closed personnel session of the board. Comments are limited to 3 consecutive minutes. A speaker's time may not be reserved, divided, apportioned, or deferred. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been included specifically on an agenda as an item upon which action will be taken. Is there anyone who wishes to make a comment? I do have a request from Thomas Gunter. All right, Mr. Gunter.
Hello, trustees. My name is Thomas Gunter, and I'm a parent of a student in this district. I come to you today with concerns regarding the district policy that addresses removal of instructional material from schools, especially school libraries. This is an issue that I have become interested in recently as I see report after report of books being removed or banned throughout the country. Even in neighboring states of Utah and Idaho, we see continued challenges for limiting or removing access to materials. Out of curiosity, I looked up the district's policy code IFA, instructional resources, instructional materials, and was surprised to see that it was last revised in August of 1987. After review, the current policy lacks necessary language to ensure a fair and unbiased review process of any request to remove or ban materials, allowing a limited or almost unilateral ability to make these requests through administrators or trustees without requiring a robust review of the requested materials by an informed panel or committee. While I believe any parent or group should have the right to request a review of any material they might find concerning, there must be protections in place to ensure that these requests are not abused for personal or political gain. Unfortunately, this is what we have witnessed repeatedly in districts throughout our country, especially over the past couple of years. The U.S. Supreme Court has stated that students must always remain free to inquire, to study, and to evaluate, to gain new maturity and understanding, and that students and teachers don't shed their constitutional rights to freedom of speech or expression at the schoolhouse gate. These very issues are jeopardized in the district policy allows for suppression of ideas, which in turn could violate a student's First Amendment rights. Every parent, group, student, and teacher are best served by a revision of this policy. So I'm asking the district to review this policy, consider the issues arising throughout the country, and compare similar policies throughout the districts in our state. I encourage the board to consider the following 3 issues that I personally believe ensure a fair and transparent review of any request to remove or ban instructional material from school district libraries or classrooms. 1, creation of a committee, either at the district or each individual school level, which includes administrators, teachers, parents, school librarians, and possibly a representative or 2 from the student body. 2, specific language that ensures instructional materials being reviewed from removal or censorship are reviewed for the totality of the message and not an individual statement. And 3, consideration for a creation of age restriction designation as an alternative prior to complete removal of any material in elementary schools. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Gunter. Is there anyone else who wishes to make a comment at this time? All right. Yes, please.
If I may request a slight change in the agenda to allow brief board minute. Thank
We'll
you.
allow it.
I appreciate it. It is Flag Day. It is the birth of the Army. We appreciate those patriots that have done that, but it's also Election Day. If you're here, if you're watching, you're probably already civically minded and you've probably already voted. If not, you have an hour and 26 minutes to get to the polls, so please do so. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Matt. We'll go on to item 2.1, receipt, review, and possible approval of request to conduct a surplus sale. All right. Anyone want to speak about the surplus sale or any questions from the board?
How often does this happen?
And what are we surplusing? What are we
Yeah,
selling?
yeah, I figured I'd wait until the meeting here, but because there wasn't really any content on it, but yeah, let's get the whole.
So this is a yearly process. I think they skipped a year or two during COVID. It's equipment that ends up at the warehouse that the schools say we don't need this anymore. If they can't find a use for it. Policy is that we bid it out at a surplus sale. So this is just permission to get that whole process started for this year.
Any other questions on that one?
So this comes up every just
year.
basically a repeat
Biannual.
every year.
Sometimes there's good things on that.
Yeah, and the list comes out, it's public, anybody can see it. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll publish it in the paper and
Is it
Put
an
out a
auction
list.
or they just sold at a certain price or? is it
I
kind of
think
a
they're bids.
top
sealed
bidder?
it's
Bids.
a bid.
Dutch auction, kind of top bidder?
Yeah,
I think it's a sealed bid. People submit their bid and
Yep.
whoever has the highest.
and then they open up.
You
and
get all
see
the
who won.
desks or something, you know.
Yeah, you can get some good deals, I think.
Yeah, people get some old equipment. It might not run right, but if someone knows how to fix it up, then they can get a good deal on stuff like that.
We've bought a couple pickups from Lander County.
Yeah.
School District.
So
Let irrigators finish them off.
what does something like this typically generate? Just out of curiosity, I mean, it varies.
Not
but
very
in-
much.
Not much.
No.
Oh,
Pennies on the dollar.
Where are the funds allocated?
They probably go back in facilities, but I'm not 100% sure. I can look it up though.
And is there any board action after this? Once we've let the horse out of the gate, it's off and running?
I don't think it has to come back to the board.
No, we've just seen it one time.
Mhm. Any other questions? How would the board like to proceed?
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the request to conduct a surplus sale.
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor of approving the request to conduct a surplus sale, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and that permission is granted. All right, item 2.2 is receipt, review, and possible approval of authorized signers for the Nevada State bank accounts. All right, Julie, the floor is yours again.
Yeah, so we had a motion probably a couple months ago giving permission to start this process. So Nevada State Bank requests official resolution designating who they're allowed to put as an authorized signer. So we've proposed 4 signers and 2 are needed on a check. So if like a workers' comp issue comes up, we can usually find 2 of the 4 people to sign off on that. This just gives us the signature cards there. We'll get that back to the bank and start opening accounts, switching over from Wells Fargo.
Is this really much of a deviation in how we've done business in the past? Or
No,
just same kind, just a formality for the bank?
yep.
Any other questions from the board?
So just to clarify, same positions, I know that we have some name changes, but same positions have been already approved?
Yeah, so like Mike Smith was a signer because some of the checks that come through are workers' comp. So we've added Cody Kranka in his place. 2 board members, superintendent. It's pretty standard.
And I noticed that the CFO is not on there. Can you elaborate why?
Well, I have full access to the accounting system, so I should not be a check signer.
For the controls on the checks and balances to keep it on the up and up?
Yep.
Just wanted to make sure I understood that right. Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the board? How would you like to proceed?
I'll make a motion to approve the authorized signers for the Nevada State Bank accounts.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I think perhaps for the record, we just read who those authorized signers are, even though Julie mentioned two of them. Would somebody like to read those?
Sure, I've got it right here. The signers are to be as follows: Teresa Dastra, Board of Trustees President; Ira Wines, the Board of Trustees Clerk; Clayton Anderson, Superintendent; and Cody Krenka, Human Resource Director.
All right. I just thought that would be good to have on record, so everyone
you.
knows. And again, like you say, Julie, this is standard procedure, but good to go through. All right, any other discussion?
We have to abstain from.
We do not have to abstain. We have to be willing to sign, so we have to vote. All right, no other discussion. We will proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, nay? Okay, chair votes aye, and that is approved. Item 2.3 is receipt, review, and possible approval of proposed changes to policy DBAB, Delta Bravo Alpha Bravo, fiscal management. Julie, this is your meeting, so talk to us about this one.
Okay, so this is updating our fund balance policy more to reflect the wording since GASB 54. It changed some of the wording to unrestricted. So we updated some of that, and it more formalizes kind of our processes already. The auditors come in and ask for our fund balance policy. So this will give us a more up-to-date one that we can provide. It clarifies who has what authority on fund balances. So commitments still come to the board. Assigning is less formal. Assigning is what we do when we prepare the year-end financial statements. Usually it's just assigning what's already budgeted for in the next year. But let's say if we know we're purchasing textbooks in 2 years, that wouldn't already be assigned in next year's budget. But we want to show the state and all the users of the financial statements that that is assigned to something. We can assign that for another year, because then the next year it would be in the next year's budget, if that makes sense. And with the new fund balance requirements from the state, it's 16% unassigned. So it just helps show everyone what our plans are with the fund balance and what's truly unassigned.
Any questions?
Madam Chair, if I may. So Julie, thank you for talking about the assign and committed. So to clarify on the bottom portion of the proposed policy, page 2, the Board of Trustees delegates, I'm looking at the second paragraph. The Board of Trustees delegates authority to assign fund balance for a specific purpose to the superintendent and or chief financial officer of the district. So that's basically just a budgetary designation.
Yeah, assigning is very informal. It can change based on our needs. So like in the textbook example, the textbook committee would have already been put in place. We already know if the approvals are there to purchase in 2 years. So we are assigning based on something that's already been approved and discussed. It's pretty much preparing the year-end financial statements based on what we know at the time.
And are the assignments typically always in a subsequent budget year?
Yes, because it's assigning fund balance that carries forward into the year, into the next year. So assignments, we always budget a line for, we always assign a line that's budgeted the next year. And it's usually deficit spending that would be in that line. So anything additional. So if we bought textbooks the year after, we could assign 2 million or however much we wanted for that, because that wouldn't be in next year's budget.
It'd be in the year following.
Yes.
And so the board still has the opportunity to review that and then commit those funds. Would I understand that process correctly?
If you wanted to take board action and formally commit to where those funds are only for that, then that's an option as well.
And we can do that without a specific meeting, just through the budgetary process, correct? I guess so. When
Committing-
we approve the budget, does that commit those funds?
No, that would be in the assigned.
Okay.
Budgetary is assigned in the, there's a line under assigned just for next subsequent year's budget. So if we wanted to commit for something the year after, that would be formal board action. And then to uncommit it, you'd need formal board action if you decide not to spend it.
Okay. So with your textbook example, the committee, we've asked the superintendent has asked for the committee to be formed for textbooks. So we know it's coming down the track. You or someone else in the financial department says, we're going to commit these funds for 2 years from now.
Committing would take board
Sorry,
action.
not committing. I apologize. That was a mistake. Misspoke on my part. Assign those funds.
Yes, we could assign it when we prepare the year-end financial statements. We could assign that based on already approved information and estimates that we've got.
And then when that budget year comes back before the board, when we take action, doesn't that commit those funds to the textbooks? Because I guess that's where if it just stays in assigned, it kind of keeps rolling. When do we spend money and when do we commit that money?
We don't commit until we sign a contract with the vendor.
Okay,
So we
perfect.
could budget for it and you could decide, we're going to push this off a year. Budget means we can legally spend the money. It doesn't commit us to spend the money.
So the contract would come back to the board. We would then approve the contract, which in doing so would commit those funds.
Yeah, that'd be a
Okay.
question for Keith on how that contract works. Because I think the board's already approved a few things curriculum wise.
Okay, I just was trying to wrap my head around at what point do we actually say, yep, this money is restricted or whatever the phrase is to say we are buying textbooks with this set of money.
There would be a separate agenda item. If we want to say, let's commit this much money for buses or textbooks, that would be its own resolution.
Okay,
And then another resolution if you want to change or undo it.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Madam Chair, move to approve proposed changes to policy DBAB, fiscal management fund balance.
A second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and that motion carries.
Okay.
Item 2.4 is receipt, review, and possible approval of awarding academic credit for completion of health science CTE course. All right. Welcome back, Heather.
Thanks. I'm so glad to see you guys in June. So the documents, and there's a lot of them in front of you. This process, so basically it's students who are in our health science programs. That's all that we focused on when we did our review work. Will earn credit towards graduation in science. So it will count as an academic credit on their transcripts. It does not count as an academic on their transcripts until they take 2 English and math and a science. So essentially that credit is not awarded until they're juniors. So we sat down with a committee of 2 health science teachers, both at Spring Creek and Elko High School, because that's where we have health science programs, and then biology teachers from those schools. We also included our middle school health science teacher, because what we're trying to do is bridge that gap for our kids. And so we reviewed all of the new health science standards for the Principles of Health Science course, and we went through all of the NGSS standards, to see where we are teaching those standards in those courses to justify that. So the committee appointed by the superintendent decided that it does indeed count for a science credit. So all of the documentation you have in front of you is to seek approval for that. After you guys approve it, when you approve it, then we will forward on to the CTE office at the Nevada Department of Education, and they will put it on the Nevada Board of Education because it needs to be approved by the Nevada Board of Education as well.
All right, questions from the board?
Just in the very back of the packet, it had a timeline. And I noticed we're a little bit like a month or so, but we should be okay right there as far as
we
getting with
should
the
be
Board of
fine.
Education.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's just because of the way that it kind of, we didn't start this work in the fall, we started this work in the spring
Right.
because we were waiting for those new standards to come out and time for us to review them.
Just wanted to make sure we were okay there. It's looking in that, we're right. Yeah,
We're right
but-
there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
It usually takes a month or two to get on the Board of Education, but we should be good.
All right.
I appreciate the time it takes to do that. So
Thank
thank you
you.
and your committee, because I know it's not just a hour task.
Yeah, we did
It's a
spend
lot
some
of
time,
work.
but we had a lot of good positive things come out of it. So
Good.
we're excited moving forward.
Not that I think we need to be followers, but I have other districts already approved this as well. And that probably was in here somewhere, but in the 36 pages, I may have missed it.
Yeah, so this is based on NAC. This is a district run process. So each district could potentially come out with a different result.
Okay. I also would like to second Susan's appreciation to the committee. Thank
They
you.
did great work.
I just wanted to reiterate that your end statement. Well, first of all, yes, thank you so much. And to the teachers and everything that you're doing with the CTE program. You guys are going through all this process, spending all these hours, but it still has to go to the state Board of Education to be approved even after our approval. That's the process.
Yes,
Okay,
that is
just,
the process.
just
Yep.
want to make sure that's on record too as well.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Madam Chair, move to approve the awarding academic credit for completion of health science CTE course.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
All right.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and that is approved. Thank you, Heather. All right, item 3.1 is our consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
I
Opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and the consent agenda is approved. Item 4.1 is a report from our NASB director.
Only thing I have regarding NASB would be the email we just received on the deadline coming up for nominations for awards. That's is still in August though, so we'll get together. I need to find out more what that means, but that's really all I had today. Was if you've got anybody, we talked about those. I think it was 13 categories. If anybody you're thinking of or the process of that, I'll get with you some more and we can figure that out so we can get those in by, I believe, August 12th was the date. So we're okay there, but pretty quiet for the summer. So that's all I have.
All right. Any questions for Jeff? All right, we'll move on to item 4.2, items from board members.
I
Everyone's
always
really
have a
quiet.
list. so.
Okay, Susan, start.
I went to the Elko High School STEM Symposium, and it was nice to see and hear about the projects the students had done. They just were kind of each set up in the new science building. Some of those projects were over my head, but they could explain them to me in terms I understood, so that was a good thing. I went to Wells to their fine arts night. And so what they decided to do is combine their music program, their arts program, and their drama program. So it was kind of one-stop shopping that night. So you could view the art as you came in, and then there was music, there was band, choir, and then a play afterwards. And that was a lot of fun. Then I went to Wendover the next day for their play, and I've never been in the Peppermill Hall, concert hall. And that's where they get to have their play. And gosh, that facility is so beautiful. And it was just nice to see the community come together and just that joint effort between, letting them use that place for nothing, so it was nice. And it was a great little play. They just had little, like 4 or 5, and then there'd be a scene and then another one. So it was fun and it was so comfortable to sit in there. It was like, wow, this is great. Let's see. Then I went to Flag View's field day where we did the parachute. I forgot about, someone said, do you want to borrow my whistle? I'm like, no. I'm like, I can talk loud. But boy, I forgot what that's like after a day of trying to talk over everything out there, but it was a lot of fun. Went to a few retirement parties, went to a retirement parade at Mountain View, and Belen, a teacher up there, had set up families to be at the parade that the retiring teachers didn't know their family was going to be there. So that was touching. It was a very nice gesture to do. Jackpot graduation. There were 9 graduates, and it was great to see the whole community comes out. The gym was full, and it was just nice to see such support for those students. So that was a lot of fun. And then I went to the Northeastern Nevada Virtual Academy graduation. Same thing. There were a lot of people there too. And it was a good event. So congratulations to all the graduates. And I hope the rest of those that aren't graduating, but will eventually, have a safe and fun summer. Same with the staff that is retired. I wish them well in their retirement, and I hope the current staff does something fun to relax and recharge themselves so they're ready to go in the fall, because it comes faster than we know. And then I had a couple, I don't know how everyone else feels, but I really want to start either finding some dates, or I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ignore you.
You're good.
Finding some dates where we can start goal setting, because I'd really like to have, for me, I don't know how you guys feel, but for me, I'd really like to have that set so we can start the year with some fresh goals, and that way everybody knows what we'd like to work on. So I'd really like to get started on that, because it's not an easy process. And then the other question I had for everyone, the school performance plans. I know in the past when they were school improvement plans, they used to have, I think, and maybe you guys will remember, the principal would talk about their plan in the spring, like what progress they made from their plan or what didn't go so well and what they're going to improve. And they did like 3 a night until they got through all the schools or something like that, if I remember. And we didn't do anything like that in the spring. So personally, I would like to hear about their school performance plans now, because I know the name's changed. So school performance plans. I don't know how the rest of you feel. I think it would be good also for the public to hear the good that's happening, the improvements they're making, or what way they're going to make those improvements. So I don't know how you feel about listening to presentations about those either next spring or however that's going to work out. And then that's it.
Thanks, Susan. Any other items from board members?
Oh, I'll jump back in. I just wanted to echo sentiment about graduation. I was able to attend Wells with 27 graduates, 100% of their senior class graduated. Congrats to them on that. That was awesome.
Nice.
And 68, 69 in Wendover. The common theme for me in both nights was seeing how happy those parents were, how proud, and how just what a great job both communities did. I know most everybody there in Wendover, it was neat to be able to see. When I saw the parents, I realized who the kid was. But in Wells, I didn't know as many folks. But again, just seeing the parents' faces and the families as they're graduating, and it made all of this, the effort and the work worthwhile to see that. It was really, really cool. I also want to thank Mr. Thomas Gunter, for your comments on policy IFA. That's right up my alley and something I'll definitely be looking at right away. So I appreciate the way that you came in and spoke and was, thorough and concise and definitely gave us a path to look in on that. So, but again, I just wanted to say on the graduations, how cool that was and how thankful I was to be able to participate in those. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Oh, you want to go last? Is that?
Might as well.
Okay, so I'm gonna start off by wishing my wife a happy birthday. She turned 21 today, so.
Hey.
But anyways, so happy birthday and the privilege and honor of being part of that graduation. You know, it's I went to EHS and I was able to hand my diploma to my daughter, my nephew, and some practice members as well. That was super cool. So that was pretty awesome. The kids, actually the young adults, played the TikTok prank and were handing me golf balls. Which I had no idea what to do with. And I looked at Mr. Wickersham, was like, what's with the golf balls? And I have no idea. So after about 3 of them, we decided we'd start throwing them into the grass and whatnot. But it definitely got us made for some good pictures because we were just smiling. So it added to it. You know, it's a joyous occasion and I like to have a good time, and that made it even better. I want to thank the community, thank this board for letting me do that, because without you guys appointing me, I wouldn't have the done all. My son was a little salty because I did not get to hand his, but God willing, maybe I'll get to hand it to my youngest daughter. So, but it was really cool. It was good to see. And then behind the scenes, I wanted to talk a little bit about where our district employees stand. I continue to get rhetoric about teachers and admin that may or not care. And I can tell you that during that ceremony, I saw many teachers that do care for our children, that do care for their education and for their well-being. I saw many admin that cared for their well-being and their education. And so I just would encourage the community to come back to the school district and reassess their previous notions that we have a district that may or may not care about the welfare of these children. I know we've tried to prove that through some of the programs we have, try and prove that through some of the teachers out here. But there are many good things happening in this district, and I would encourage community to continue to step up towards the district so we can work together and get a little closer and help our community with the education and their well-being. Something I didn't have on my list was Mr. Gunter. Thank you so much. It's fantastic. It's wonderful to have someone at the podium that comes, points out something that needs to be said, but then magically gives us routes and ideas on how to change that. So I appreciate that. That's a breath of fresh air. Thank you so much. That's all I have.
I got to go to Waihe's graduation. Mr. Streeter's here. He did an excellent job putting it on. It was a good graduation. A big class. I was there a couple of years ago and it was about half that size.
Oh,
A
wow.
couple of years ago, it was right square in the middle of COVID and with all the restrictions, this was a good graduation. And Waihe should be proud of their kids. Mr. Streeter should be proud of his school.
Nice.
Go ahead.
I just
Matt.
wanted to echo congratulations to the graduates, appreciation to the communities of Carlin and Spring Creek for allowing me to join in their children's graduation, and congrats to them, echoing the wishes for a safe summer for all of the students, parents, and faculty, staff, etc. One more to go, Battleborn Youth Challenge Academy on Friday at the Convention Center. Not only will the cadets be graduating, but there may also be, or graduating the program, but there may also be one more that gets a special recognition. So that's kind of cool. And I think it's been said 3 or 4 times now. Mr. Gunner, thank you for your comments. Thank you for giving us something to look into, and echoing what Dr. Byers said, for giving us a course of action that you would like us to see us pursue, and not just expressing your thoughts and then walking out the door. So we greatly appreciate that. Finally, I'm learning to drive a bus, and the school district, the school district transportation team has been tremendously helpful and supportive in that regards. But knowing that I have to crawl under the bus and through the bus and do all these fun things for a pre-trip inspection, I am amazed at how clean the engines of these buses are. So I just want to do a quick shout out to the bus maintenance team. Amazing job. to that team. Yeah, it's a bus, it's dirty, but overall, when the engine was opened up today and I had to do my inspection, I was astounded. I was like, wow. So just a quick shout out for that. So that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Well, this year I got to attend everything from kindergarten graduation to watching my senior graduate, and those were fun, plus field days and Renaissance fairs and, all those fun things that happen at the end of the year. Getting to see kind of the end of year projects and everything else. So congratulations to our graduates. Congratulations to the faculty and staff and admin that got them there. It's a lot of work to get our kids through school, through the programs, and moving on, whether they have made a firm decision on where they're going and what they're doing, or whether they're kind of up in the air. It's fun to see the kids knowing that they're taking the next step in life. So again, fun to see the families involved at all of those different levels. And congratulations again. Good luck in the future to our graduates. And also thank you again to our staff for taking care of our students the way they do and caring for them in amazing ways. All right, we'll move on to item 5.1, which is our superintendent's report. And I know we don't have Mr. Anderson here. Cassie, is there anything he asked you to pass on? Okay, Mr. Anderson. All right.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Thanks. I missed the Pledge of Allegiance, but I've been here for the rest of it. Good to see you all. Sorry for the technology issues, and we're all familiar with those. So, a few things to talk about. Number one, I guess before I get into my list, regarding, I just wanted to address something Susan brought up when she was mentioning the school performance plans and hearing from other schools. It's a ways off when we get to the point if we want to evaluate progress on those, but just for your time frame, that sort of thing, typically those kind of the anticipated timeline for those as we continue to work through the beta this year is that those initial plans get developed and submitted sometime in late October, and then the first status check would happen sometime around like December, January, and then the next status check would be around March. Depending on the nature of their plans and the type of goals they have, it's hard to say which of those would be best. We may just find that we want to consider which ones make the most sense. For example, if a school, that's not very good lighting, I apologize. For example, if a school has MAP test scores as an indicator, or a data source that they're using to determine growth in inquiry area 1, well, if we're not finishing MAP testing until, mid-February or something, then it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do a status check prior to that. So might be worth waiting till that second status check, whereas someone else, we might have an opportunity earlier than that. So again, I know that's a long way off, but we can definitely consider doing that. I know sometimes, and hopefully you can appreciate this, is sometimes there's some apprehension or some worry, especially given the treatment that certain administrators have received in the past, of standing up in front of people and being very vulnerable and talking about how your school is doing, because that's someone's baby. That is we care about very much about our school when we're a campus administrator. So it would go a long way to continue to, y'all are doing this great, but to continue to develop those relationships with our school administrators so that they can feel like they are presenting to allies and not to judges at the Olympics who are critiquing on how good they are. A huge part of that improvement process is dependent on people's demeanors and perceptions toward it, and making sure it feels like we're all working on the same team. And so that's just a couple of thoughts there with that. We'll make sure Ray, as the new school improvement director, has some has some role in that as well. I know he's listening right now. I saw that he's tuned in virtually as well. All right, so as far as other items I wanted to just share with you, worth mentioning, we've had some important hires and other movements going on here. Congrats to Emily Nielsen, who was selected as the new principal of Adobe Middle School for next school year. She's been doing an awesome job as a VP there for the last few years, and she's excited. They're excited. We're all excited for Emily. For those of you who haven't met her yet, you need to get to know Emily. She's a phenomenal administrator. Additionally, another movement we had, T.W. Cunningham, who's currently the principal out at Carlin Combined School. He's going to make a move over to Southside Elementary for the upcoming school year. So congrats to TW. And he's been at Carlin for a minute here. I want to say about 5 years or so. So he's making that change. Just want to make sure you're aware of those those shifts that we're having. Let's see. I'm double phoning it right now. I'm looking through my calendar on one and my meeting in the other. Probably my favorite thing. It's hard to, when you love all the kids in all the schools so much, it's hard to pick a favorite, but one of my favorite things I got to see was at Mountain View Elementary about a week and a half ago, maybe almost 2 weeks ago now. The kids in their resource classroom put on a little mini production that was about 10 to 15 minutes long. And these kids in the resource classroom at Mountain View wrote, produced, acted, narrated, did the set design, props, everything. They 100% put together a play, which I just thought was so one, that they did it. It was super cool. But two, it was this awesome, knowing Josh and his and our similar media interests, I think Josh would have appreciated it too. It was like a combination of every major medieval / Greek mythological / just awesome movies and works of literature, and they kind of put it all together in this hero's quest, and it was great. It was so fun to watch. Just impossible not to have a massive smile on your face the whole time watching them. So congrats to those students in that classroom, and so thank you so much to the staff there for inviting us, and there were parents out there, and it was a fun experience. So that was a great experience. Wanted to say give a shout out and a thank you to our law enforcement in our community, whether it's the county or the city police or elsewhere in our county. As you'll recall, it feels like a long time ago, but it was only 3 weeks ago when we had that last board meeting and we found out about the school shooting in Texas. And since then, our law enforcement officers recognizing just the need and for increased security to get us through the school year, so people felt better and felt a little more at ease. And it was nice of them to step up and offer that assistance where they could lend it and where we could use it. And it was it's nice to have collaborative partners in the community that it ended up resulting in essentially what they were volunteering was more time and more money. Right? Like they were offering their resources. It wasn't, they didn't readjust their schedules necessarily. They were offering more above and beyond to help us. And so really just want to thank them. We get so much help from our SROs on a regular basis, as you know, but to have even all those law enforcement personnel outside of our 7 SROs demonstrate that willingness and that desire to support our schools and our community was awesome. So I want to say thank you to them publicly. And then I gotta admit, I was a little jealous listening to you all talk about graduations. I was so looking forward to going to those, as I mentioned to you in an email, and I'm not embarrassed to say it or anything. There's nothing to be embarrassed about, but I was unable to make anything last week. I unfortunately was came down with COVID, and got a little under the weather. But the worst part of COVID was I had to miss all those graduations. I was especially jealous of Jeff because those Wells kids, I love those kiddos, and to miss out on that was a bummer. But I planned on going to about 6 or 7 graduations. I think I had it calculated out, and I had to miss them, but that's okay. Really proud of them. Congratulations to all our graduates, and thank you to all of you for going to those. And that's the highlight for anyone who's been an educator, and especially has been able to spend time at a secondary school where you're with those kids graduating as seniors. That's the highlight. Oftentimes administrators try to bribe teachers into going to graduation, like working graduation. It was never a bribe for me. That was always a no-brainer and a duh. Of course I'll be there. Like that's why we do what we do. And so congrats to all of them. One more thing, just to let you know, there are no directors in the boardroom today, nor am I there, and that's not because we decided we love vacation and we're out of here. But every year at this time they hold what's called the Superintendents Academy, and I took advantage of this wonderful opportunity to have some leadership training with our district leadership team, as well as the opportunity for us as a new team to spend some time together and develop some common interests and some common kind of things that are important to us as educators, and think about the direction we want our district to go. I think it's good timing. We've got some more of this going on over the next couple of weeks, but we were able to it was nice to meet with leadership from every district in the state, and along with the charter schools, and we were refreshed by a wonderful speaker named Dr. Muhammad, and he really helped us kind of refocus and re-energize a little bit, and then we had some opportunities to work collaboratively with some partners with the state, so we can really put the kind of the roadblocks behind us that have existed for the last few years here, and refocus on what we're about, which is our kids and our their success, and providing the programs and the avenues and the environments that they need in order to be successful there. And so looking forward to seeing how those things that we as a leadership team continue to develop, and also how they coincide with what you as a board want to put together for goals, making sure that at all times we try to be as united as possible. We need to make sure we're rowing in the same direction, and I've felt that from all of you, and I want that to continue to be the case, so we can because in the end the decisions we make are for our students, and whether we agree or we disagree, or we may not be sure about an approach necessarily compared to another option, we want to make sure we're always keeping that in mind, recognizing that our adult behaviors and our adult decisions and our adult actions impact our students, and we need to make sure that they are impacting them the way they should be, positively. So really looking forward to getting, I know the year our school year just ended on Friday, but we are already shifting into the next, the next phases, and really excited about the team we have together, because I know that each one of them cares very much about these students, and it's impossible to argue with that when you sit down with them and have an honest conversation about our schools with them. They care, and I'm excited. And I think that's probably it for me, unless anyone has a question about anything.
Any questions from the board?
Mr. Anderson, very briefly, since I've not been on the board before and honestly have not paid as much attention as perhaps I should have in the past to end of year numbers, the enrollment comparison dated 6/10 of 22, is that final? Or would somebody else perhaps be able to identify that? Or is there going to be an additional change potentially?
That's a good question, Matt. Josh Farmer would be able to tell you whether or not that is final. But I mean, it says enrollment as of 6/10, and 6/10 was our last day of school. So I'm not sure what could be more final than the last day of school attendance count.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I appreciate that. So 9,895 students. Obviously, there are some families there that are duplicated, but I think that's worth noting. 2.5% increase over last year. We appreciate the trust that those families have given to us and that have brought those students back in. So thank you, Mr. Anderson, and your team for their leadership. And that goes all the way down to the school level, all employees.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Anderson? All right. Glad you're with us. Sorry, I didn't see your little tag on the screen.
No, that's okay. I've been listening. You've all been very well behaved. Good
Oh,
job.
good. All right. We will move on to item 6.1, approval of the accounts payable.
I move to approve the accounts payable June 14th, 2022.
All right. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to approve the accounts payable June 14th of 2022. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, if I may, I have a disclosure. I have a family member with no pecuniary interest that's employed by Armaza Construction. I do not feel that this is going to interfere with my ability to vote impartially on this item, just disclosing.
All right. Thank you. Any other disclosures or discussion? All right. All in favor of approving accounts payable dated June 14th, 2022, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and those accounts payable are approved. We have one more item of accounts payable.
Go ahead and move that we approve the Wells Rural accounts payable for June 14th.
A second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any questions? I will disclose that I have a family member who is employed by Wells Rural Electric, so I will abstain. All in favor of approving the accounts payable to Wells Rural Electric dated June 14th, 2022, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair abstains and the motion carries. Item 7.1 is a final opportunity for input from the public. Is there anyone who wishes to make a final comment? All right. Thank you for joining us this evening in person and virtually. We hope everyone has a wonderful summer, and we'll see you all in a few weeks for another meeting. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. See y'all later.
All right. Thanks. Good night.